right, so welcome back to QuickBooks Online, Chapter 14, the payroll process. How do I actually pay my employees? What are the things that I need to have readily available? And how do I ensure that everything I'm doing is correct? Now, again, if you are using the payroll subscription, you technically don't really need to do anything except for putting in the times in the time entries, and that's pretty much it. It should be able to transfer over immediately to your payroll process, okay? Or payrolls, your when you initiate the payroll service, right? It should automatically pull those times that you put in the timesheet, and it should automatically calculate everything for you. Since everything is online and it's mainstreamed, they are constantly looking on the internet using the irs.gov/publication 15T, which is called the Circular E table, which is going to be the table that is going to be needed to calculate the federal income tax withholdings. Okay? So, before anything, let's talk about what that federal income tax withholdings are. Okay? So, like I've mentioned, right, when you are trying to process payroll, this is the form that I was talking to you about, right? This is the 2022's version. Now you have to remember every year you process payroll. Every year the tax tables change. So right now we are still in the year of 2022 at the end of the month, December. So that means we will be expecting to be looking at a new tax table in 2023. But however, it has yet to be released. So we're going to be using this tax table for now to go ahead and help us process our payroll. Now there are federal taxes and there are state taxes. So if you remember from yesterday's lesson, right? Federal is mandated. It's obligated for your employees as well as you as an employer to have to pay into these federal taxes. State will vary depending on which state you are doing business in. Okay? Some states charge, some states require a state tax for employees, and then for companies, it will depend on your business, but for sure, you will have state unemployment and other responsibilities such as workers' compensation. Those are going to be examples of taxes that you have to look forward to. And this right here, the federal income tax withholdings, is going to be based on every individual person's paycheck. And with the W-4 form that you are supposed to be receiving from your employees, is going to determine how much money you're going to be taking out from their paycheck. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look real quick of what that W-4 form 4 looks like. So this is the 2022. Once again, we are at the end of December, so you should be filling this out if you plan to be working sometime in December. However, yes, every year your W-4 form is also going to change. Now, you are not required to, if you already have employment, you are not required to fill out another W-4 form every single year. However, when you are looking for new employment, you are required to fill out the W form for the current year. So in this case, if I decide to apply for a job and I am going to be currently working for December of 2022, I need to fill out the 2022 form. So this is what it looks like. Okay. Now, if you guys worked before in the very past, prior to 2020, this form looks different. All right. Because back then, for 2020, for the 2019 and earlier, the forms look way different. You would claim if you are married and filing separately. You would claim if you were filing jointly. You would claim an allowance if you have children, and you can claim as many as you can. And every allowance that you claim is a set number. Okay? In this case, no. For the 2022, they do have a few rules and things of how to fill it out. So right here, of course, the first part's a standard. You put your name, your social security number, your address. But here's what's different here. You have to claim your marital status right here. Are you single or married filing separately, or are you married filing jointly? And are you the head of household? Back then, I believe you had like you had more than 3 options. I think you had 4 or 5 options, right? And you can claim yourself. In this case, nope, you cannot claim yourself. You have to fit within these 3 categories. Okay? Now, in this case, because we're living in the now age, right, where it is very likely that you can hold multiple jobs. And this one's more prevalent, okay? Because again, if I have a regular 9 to 5, and then if I want to do Uber on the side, that is where I have to report any extra earnings that is apart from my primary, okay? So that means they need to know how much income you are generating. And they make this easy and flexible for you, so you, instead of filing 2 separate W-4 forms for every employer, you just fill one, right? Now, in this case, if you have a secondary or a tertiary job, you need to fill in how much money that you've earned for that. And second of all, even if you decide to say that you're married filing jointly, you need to include your spouse's income here as well, okay? Because what they're looking for is how much overall income is generated in your household, okay? And of course, you're going to be subtracting any deductions. So again, if you are required by the law to take out any deductions, such as, if you have to do child support or alimony or any of those things are going to be deducted from your paycheck, right? Then, after you've done that, you're going to be calculating your actual tax amount. And this is where step 3 fills in, is you need to claim, if you want to claim your children, right? Every child is going to be $2,000 for every year, okay? Now, we know for a fact that a child does not equate to $2,000 a year, but what they're trying to say is this is them allowing you to take that extra $2,000 per year to help you support your child, right, of the age of 17 or younger. And anybody who's older from 18, and I believe the threshold is 26, you can claim them as a dependent, right? Because the assumption is when they're 18, they should be able to work and support themselves. But if they are, going to college and so on and so forth, and they're still living at home, you can claim them up till 26. But they're going to be under a dependent for $500. You can include your anybody who is disabled. You can claim them as a dependent. And of course, anybody, if you have parents who are retired, you can also claim them as a dependent as well. Okay. And then of course, so if you just read this here, every person that you claim, okay, so if every child you claim is $2,000 per child, okay, so you can claim up to, I believe, the maximum of 10 children, okay. And then of course, right here, for dependents, it's going to be $500 per dependent, and so on and so forth. So they're going to be there. Then you're going to, number 4 is going to be any additional income that is not from your job. So if you own stock, life insurance, an IRA, that is where you need to put in the records of all of that, even though that money isn't something that you're going to obtain right away, because especially if you involve in stocks, there is a 24-hour trade out period or something like that, or when you claim it, you will get taxed. In this case, that is what this section here for this is. It's just to claim basically every single income that you actually have. Now, in this case, this is just money that you have saved off inside. They need to know that. And then any other deductions, such as if you want to claim your house, if you want to claim other things, okay, that's where this extra deduction is going to be. So then your extra withholdings are going to be there. Okay, so that's how you fill out the W-4 form. If you need help, there is a website that you can go to. It's www.irs.gov/W4/app. So back then, it was actually called back in 2020, it was called the W-4 tax estimator. So in this case, they have it via application now. So you can download that app and it can help you walk you through how to fill out your W-4 form. Your employer can and should be able to also help you fill out your W-4 form as well. But if they just give you the form and expect you to be able to fill out yourself, you are able to use this application on the irs.gov website to be able to help you fill out this W-4 form. And it's really easy. They walk you through easy step questions. All you have to do is answer yes or no, and then of course then it will produce a W-4 for you. Okay? Now I will go ahead and add this in here. The more you claim, the more likely you might have to pay back the government. The less you claim, you will definitely get a tax return. Okay, so just a little heads up there. All right, so there's that there. So now that I talked about that, let's talk about timesheets. So we've actually seen an example before in your chapter 9, how to fill out that timesheet. We did it for Ernest Withers, if you remember. So in this case, let's go ahead and visit those timesheets once again, so we can go ahead and add our timesheet for our individual person here. So Katie Ropa, which is going to be on Monday, January 3rd. So you want to make sure that you are carefully doing this, okay? So in this case, I am going to go to my plus new icon, and I'm going to go ahead and click enter time entry, okay? And of course, from my employee center, right, we do know that Katie Ropa, we put her in yesterday, is right here. And yes, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go plus new, right? We're gonna go to time entry, and this is what we're gonna do. So here's the screen. It's gonna say, who do you want to enter time in for? So you need to select Katie Ropa right here, Ropa Katie, and here's the timesheet. Now of course you can, it says right here, since it's taking up to the most recent date as of today. So QuickBooks does have a tendency to do that because it's taking a look at you trying to enter in data at the very moment in time. But because we have the ability to retroactively plug in our transactions, right? That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go up at the top here, and we're going to do custom, okay? So now that I click custom, I'm going to go ahead and designate this is going to be for the week of January 3rd. Okay, so then now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is all in line. Okay. So then now it's going to ask me to add in my work details. Okay. So let's see what Katie has done for us. Okay. Katie did some customer service, okay? Customer service hours at the store, 8 hours on Monday, okay? So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and add the first activity. So as you can see right here, total duration. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add work details. So this is where you're going to fill it out. So again, on Monday, so since we have Monday selected already, we said that she worked 8 hours, okay? For the customer, none, because it was in store. So you don't need to fill that part in. Service, right? I'm going to go ahead and locate hours, okay? Class, we said was the store because she worked for the store. Location, if there is a specific location that she worked for primarily, then go ahead and put that in. I believe she works the Walnut Creek location. Maybe San Jose. I don't know. If she works at both, then you could go ahead and put overhead. And then any notes that you want to put in here is up to you. So in this case, she did some customer service. Okay. Now, if this isn't hours, then you can go ahead and see if there is an extra one for that. In this case, you could do it for sales, but in this case, she just earned hours. Okay. Again, if you have services that you've already plugged in there, so from your services list, it should populate up here as well. Okay, so we got indoor session. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and designate it 2 hours. Okay. So once that looks good, I'm going to go ahead and click done. So then on Monday, I have filled out the 8 hours and I've added the activity that she has done. So then I just go ahead and click on the next day, and then let's see what happened on the next day. Okay, on the next day, Tuesday, she has also completed another customer service for 8 hours on Tuesday. So once again, I'm going to add that activity for 8 hours. Okay, no particular customer. Okay, service, hours, class, store. I'm going to say she works at both of them. And again, customer service. Okay. And next. So there you go. I've already filled out. Now, Wednesday. Wednesday, she did 2 activities. She did customer service for 2 hours, or for 6 hours. And then she also had some sick hours. Okay. So in this case, she claimed 2 hours of sick pay for the store. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there. Okay. So because Katie is allowed to have vacation pay and sick pay, we're going to go ahead and identify that right now. Okay, so this one was for customer service. Okay. And then what you're going to do here is to add that sick pay, you're going to do another add in work detail. And this is going to give you the same exact form, except this one's blank. Okay, hold on. It's supposed to... Oh, sorry. Never mind. Let me go ahead and click done. I'm supposed to click the add. So there you can add the second activity. So that was the first one for 6 hours. So that means the second one I'm going to put here is going to be the 2 hours that she claimed for sick pay. Okay. So then, now her activity for that entire day is she did 6 hours for customer service and 2 hours she claimed for sick pay. Okay. Therefore, overall total is she received on Wednesday to be 8 hours. Okay. So then, on Thursday and Friday, it's going to be the same as what you've been doing earlier. So that one's going to be straightforward for 8 hours. Okay. Okay, so there you go. So now I have the first week of her pay, which right here tells me that she worked a full 40 hours, okay, for this week. Once everything looks good, I can go ahead and click save. So then now it's in the system that she's worked those 40 hours. Okay. So then let's add our next person here. So this one is going to have a variety of different things that they've done. So in this case, let's take a look at Mario Mabula, okay, for the January 3rd. Okay. So again, once again, you're going to go plus new time entry. Okay. You're going to locate Mabula. There you go, Mario Mabula. And you're going to do a custom date here. All right, and you're going to select January 3rd, okay, as Monday, because we're going to start on Monday. Okay, and then you're going to list out your activities once again, exactly how it says here. So the first one here for Monday, okay, he's claimed 3 hours for the Madeira Builders Bennett. Then he did 5 hours of Madeira Builders DeVoe. And then that's it for that Monday, right? He claimed his 8 hours right here. So in this case, we have to go ahead and do the service as retouching services. So he did 2 retouching services. And then again, because we're doing for the specific customer, right? Retouching photo services for the store. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill that in. So today is Monday. We're going to go ahead and say we're going to claim the first 3 hours. To the customer, we said was the Madeira Builders. The first one, okay, was the Bennett. Okay, now this one says, if you designate an actual customer, do you want to pass the bill along? That is up to you. Now, in this case, we're just recording hours to ensure that Mr. Mabila has completed a work and he's reporting what he did. Okay? So in this case, no, I'm not going to bill any of my customers. But if you choose to keep track of time through the customer, yes, you can go ahead and pass that bill along. Okay? And we saw that in chapter 9 when Ernest Withers wanted to see his hours that he worked. He could have just tacked that service time on Veronica Vasquez's marketing photos, but he didn't. Okay, so in this case, right, what was the service that was provided? We said retouching. Right here, retouching. Class, we said store location. It did not say, and then we're going to go ahead and say retouching services. And we can save. Okay, so then I want to add my second activity, which we said for 5 hours, we did the Madeira Builders for the DeVoe residents, right? That we also completed retouching services for the store. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead, retouching. So then there you go. For his 8 hours, we claimed 3 was for the Barnett residents and 5 was the DeVoe. Okay. So then let's go ahead and see what else happened. So then on Tuesday, he claimed 8 hours doing managerial the store for admin. Okay. So again, no designated customer, but he claimed his hours for managing the store for admin. Okay. So here we are. 8 hours on Tuesday. Nobody. He did this. He managed the store. He claimed his hours, excuse me, for admin. Okay. Manage store. Okay. Wednesday, he's claimed another 8 hours to manage the store. Thursday, he claimed that as well. And then on Friday, he did some retouching services and he requested some time off. So in this case, let's go ahead and enter those in there. He claimed his 8 hours. Okay. So as far as this right here, right, filling out timesheets is fairly easy. Okay. So here he's going to do that 4 hours that he claimed to do retouching services for the wedding planners. I'm sorry, for the Vasquez marketing. Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm supposed to claim the retouching services hours. There you go. Retouching services. Okay. And then he requested half a day off on Friday. So there you go, 4 hours. Okay. So then there you go. Once everything looks good, we can save it. So then now it's in the system that he did, that Mario claimed his full 40-hour week period. Okay. So that's how you fill a timesheet. Like I said, fairly easy. Now, again, if you are not using the payroll subscription, yes, you can go ahead and manually add your employees' timesheet one by one. You can create a user account for them to be able to do that on their own. So yes, you can. You just have to remember that you can only create up to 5 users. So in this case, you want to be very careful on who to give access to or create a user profile, because with the Plus subscription, you only can have up to 5. Okay? So again, of course, now if you subscribe to the if you subscribe to the payroll or the time subscription, you can have a live action clock in, clock out tower. Okay? And this one will allow you to transfer the information right away over, and it allows you to do direct depositing. So that's even better. Okay? So there you go. So then now let's talk about paying our employees. Okay? So of course, when you're using the payroll subscription, all you got to do is click that payroll icon and it will start paying your employees. So if you go here and you click payroll, it should start processing your payroll subscription and you would be able to pay your employees. Now in this case, I chose not to do the 30-day trial, okay? So again, if you can't access it that way, you also will have it available right here. Again, because I didn't subscribe to that payroll subscription, it should say right here payroll center, and that's where you can actually initiate the payroll process by clicking on the button to pay your employees. But in this case, I do not have that button. So how do I do this if you are using a manual payroll system, or if you are choosing to outsource besides Intuit, choosing to go with another smaller company who will outsource and do the accounting information, or do the accounting and do the taxes for your employees and processing those paychecks? What would you do? You're going to end up receiving that information for your employees from the company, and you still have to manually add it in here because that is money that's being taken out of your checking account. So you need to update your books that way. So in this case, even if you don't use the Intuit subscription, you still need to know how to do this if you're doing it manually, or if you're outsourcing it to another place, you need to know how you're going to be able to input it into QuickBooks regardless. Okay? So that is exactly what we're going to do here. How do I pay my employees? So let's talk about the first one, which is we're going to pay Katie Ropa. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and say timesheet for that one that we just did. So she did her 40 hours. The pay date's going to be the 14th. All right. So this one, you're going to have to make sure if you are processing your paycheck, making sure that you do make sure that the payroll dates are matching. Now, of course, again, if you do the payroll subscription, you will automatically get a miniature calendar and you will be notified and reminded when payday or payroll date is due. Okay, you will also get a reminder, hey, it's time to pay Katie, right? If you could designate the exact date, and because if you put in your payroll frequency, which in this case we said they're going to get paid every other week, right? Then it's going to automatically do that for you. But in this case, that is something that you have to be able to do on your own, is ensure when those checks are due. Now, again, like we mentioned, if you're going to be outsourcing your information anyway, you're going to get a copy of everything. So including the pay date that you are going to do. Now, especially if you're on a bi-weekly schedule, normally you'll get the checks maybe the day before, but it's not available to your employee until Friday. So in this case, I need to know that Friday the 14th for January will be the day that we go ahead and process the paychecks, right? Now in this case, we said that Katie gets paid $17 an hour, right? And we know that she's earned 40 hours, or in this case, 38 hours of regular pay. And then, of course, we have to issue some sick hours for her for two of those hours. And, of course, she also has received a $100 commission. So, therefore, she should have a gross pay of $820. So, we're also going to include tips here. Okay? So, in this case, how do I go ahead and process all of this information? Well, this is what you got to do. You're simply going to actually cut her a check. Okay? Okay? We're going to actually cut her a check. Okay? So I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go ahead and use that write checks window. And I'm going to go ahead and list it all out. What are the things that Katie Ropa has earned? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and write this check out to Katie. See, there you go, Katie Ropa. Now, sometimes you might get an error code saying, hey, this is an employee. You need to use the payroll center to be able to pay your employees. But in this case, we don't have a payroll center, so this might, the error code might not show up. Katie Ropa. There you go. Okay, her information should show up, but in this case, maybe there's a glitch in the system. We said we're going to pay her on January 14. Okay. Is there an actual check number? We'll go ahead and talk about that in a few seconds here. Okay, we will designate a check for her. And in this case, this is for both of the stores. Okay. So then what are the categories that we're going to add? We're literally going to list out every single expense that we can. So the first one that we had was salaries and wages expense. See salaries and wages right here. Sorry, I think there's a glitch on my end, or my internet is not doing so good. So it keeps glitching on me. So let's do it again. We're not on items. We are on categories. So here it is. Salaries and wages. Okay, description is salaries and wages. Amount. Now we said she earned $17 an hour and she claimed 38 hours. So that should give you, okay, so you could either code this as admin because again, we're paying her. Okay, so here you go, the $646 right here. Okay. We are also going to claim her 2 hours of sick pay. We're also going to claim that she got $100 commission and she earned tips for $40. Okay. So I think I put vacation, payroll expense, salaries and wages. Where is it? Vacation and sick pay. So we could say she claims 2 hours. Okay. Then we said she got some commissions. Commissions. Okay. For $100. And then she's also got some tips. For $40. Okay. So right now that I listed out all of her items that is on here, it's now showed me that she's earned a total of $820, right? So that is good because we just listed out all of her earnings. So what is the next step here is that we need to subtract out all of her federal and state requirements that she is known for. So in this case, we have to be very, very, very careful here that we are going to be putting everything in either towards or as a negative, right? So in this case, federal income tax, we need to calculate it. So how do we calculate federal income tax? It's going to be based off of, number one, her W-4 form, okay? So if you guys remember, she said she filed as a single status, okay? And she also claimed 0 withholdings, okay? And of course, the pay frequency we said was bi-weekly, which is every other week. And we need to know how much that she, has earned, okay? So down below, as you can see, there's a table right here of what the table that is appropriate to use for this. But if you are going to be looking at your actual your actual form here, right? You would have to choose, are you doing manual payroll system? In this case, we are not automating anything. So if you go through your different types of forms that you're looking for, or which table to use, you are most likely going to be using form number 4, okay, which is going to be the percentage method table for manual payroll systems, okay, with the form 4W4 form 2020 or later, because she started working on 2020, therefore she filled out the W4 form for 2020, okay? So you're going to be needing to use the table. Now, in this case, when we recognize how to use this table, it's going to be based off of first criteria, which is going to be the payroll period. So in this case, this one's right here for weekly. We need to be under bi-weekly, right? Because she's going to get paid every other week. And then we need to determine, right? Since she only has, we're assuming, one job, she's only 21, we're going to assume that's her only job, because on her W4 form, if she had a second job, you would know to use one of these tables. So in this case, this table here on the left is if she did not check box marked for number 2, if she had any other extra income. In this case, you'll use the left table. But if she has other income from a secondary, tertiary, or from a spouse, then you're going to use the table on the right. And then once you establish that, you need to also look at marital status. In this case, she said she was filing single or married filing separately. So in this case, this is the table you're going to be needing. So it's very complicated if you're not very familiar with understanding which table to use. So that's why I've already provided it right here into the PowerPoint for you. So how we read this table is going to be, well, we have to read it as A, B, C, D, and E, okay? We need to look at how much money she's earned and which row she belongs into. So in this case, once we find our table, we're going to figure out her wage. So she earned a total of $820. So therefore, we have to read this as, how much has she at least earned? She at least earned more than $0. She's definitely at least earned more than $498, but she has not earned more than $893. So now that I established this row right here, that means the federal government is not going to tax her at all for any so this row right here, this middle row right here, basically says that the federal government will take the money regardless of how much money you're going to make. In this case, they're not going to take anything, okay? However, in any dollar over 498, that means if she earned in excess, okay, it's going to be subjected to a 10% tax. Okay, so that's how we use the percentage method. It's based on, if the more money you make, the higher tax bracket you are going to be in. So that's why they always say the more money you make, the higher taxes you pay. And that's true, because if you're making $1,263 for every paycheck, you're going to be subjected at a 37% tax. So that's how we figure it out. In this case, because she's not making enough in her threshold, right, she's only going to be subjected to 10% of in excess. So that means the government lets you keep that $498 without taxing. So in this case, we need to figure out how much money she's earned in excess by taking her gross pay of $820, subtracting out what the government lets her keep without tax. So that's $498. So that means she's earned in excess $322. Okay? So therefore, once you figure that number out, which is the number in excess that she's earned, you're going to tax it by that 10%. So 10% to that $322 is going to give you $32.20. And then you're going to add whatever amount that the government's going to take from your check, no matter how much you've earned. So in this case, we've already understand that they're not going to take anything from her because she doesn't make enough money. So therefore, you're going to add 0 to the $32.20. So therefore, her total total federal income tax withholdings is going to be $32.20. Okay. Now, in this case, the way that the W-4 form works is if you do claim your children for the new W-4 forms for 2020 and later, you take and claim your children after taxes. You never take it before anymore. Because back then in 2019 and earlier, you had to take your dependents out prior to being taxed. In this case, they're going to do that after you get taxed. So in this case, right, if Katie claimed her child now, she would actually end up with a without any withholdings. Okay, so again, every person is a per case scenario. So again, we're not going to take into consideration of all of those extra features or extra benefits and deductions or any extra income or extra withholdings. So in this case, we're just going to keep it sweet and simple and understand this is how you do the math. Okay, she's going to claim $32, or the government's going to claim $32.20 off of her federal income tax. So therefore, when I plug that number in, I must plug it in as a negative $32.20. Okay? Because that is going to ultimately reduce the check, right? She's not going to claim every penny from the $820 she's earned. We are going to subtract out all of the taxes, so then she's going to get what's called a net pay, meaning everything after taking all the taxes and all the deductions and all the benefits, how much money is she going to walk home with? And that's where we're going to go ahead and put in here. Okay? So we're going to type in, right? That was one of the liabilities that we plugged in here. So federal, okay? So we got federal unemployment, federal income tax withholdings. Now in this case, we have to add in negative $32.20. Okay? Now I need to also put in all of my classes. So again, this is admin because we're paying her. We're not paying her from the store. We're paying her as admin. Okay? So then after taking out that $32.20, notice this. Now she's down to $787.80. Now again, that was just only one of the federal taxes that she is subjected to have to pay. The next one she has to pay is her Federal Insurance Contribution Act, which is her Social Security and Medicare. Okay? So let's see what is next. So we said we have to plug in Social Security and Medicare. Okay? Sorry. We had to do Social Security, Medicare. Now, Social Security, right, we derive these percentages from the IRS.gov website for the publication 15, which is going to be everything that you need to know about payroll and employees. Okay? So this number here is what the federal government deems to be the total amount that a individual person's paycheck should withhold, okay, to put in for the future when they retire. So they say 6.2% of an average individual who's earned money, that should be enough for them to go ahead and be able to sustain their life, right? Sustain their life if they withhold 6%, 6.2% of their paycheck, they should be able to withhold or withstand their life with that 6.2, right? And of course, for the Medicare, they are also deeming that another 1.45% from their paycheck should go to their Medicare. So in this case, this is the government's idea of having a savings for you for the future when you retire. When you claim your Social Security, I believe the nowadays the threshold or the age for claiming Social Security now is 67. Okay, and then this 6.2% of an individual's paycheck has not changed since I taught this class in 2018. So it's always been 6.2%, and Medicare was always 1.45%. Now again, when you go ahead and look at the rules and regulations for that, you can only claim up to $147,000 worth of Social Security. Okay, for the year of 2022. Now, of course, every year it typically increases over the years because again, with with looking at society and looking at the market, we do know that the value of a dollar has increased over time. So therefore, they adjust that amount that you can earn up to every year. So in this case, they deemed that $147,000 should be enough for someone who is retiring to receive a comfortable monthly pension. Okay, so again, those are going to be already pre-thought by the federal government. So in this case, the number is 6.2% for Social Security and 1.45% of for Medicare based on gross pay. So in this case, we understand that gross pay, she earned a total of $820. Okay, everything's taxable. Okay. So again, if $820 times that 6.2% is going to give you $50.84 that she's going to put into Social Security. And of course, if we calculate for Medicare, $820 times that 1.45% will give you $11.89. Medicare, there is no cap limit, so you can continue keep adding because medical bills are infinite for this type of concept. So then, of course, we also have to think about what the company has either offered benefits to or whatever deductions that are necessary to take out. So in this case, we need to consider health insurance. We said that it was 50-50 split between employee and employer. And we said that the employee was going to agree to pay $150. So that means the employer must match them 50-50 for that $150. So that's going to be something that you deduct. Okay? And of course, if you're going to be putting in money towards a 401k plan, we already signed the agreement, right? It's up to the company policy to set a cap limit of how much an individual can put into their 401k. So in this case, Katie claimed up to 5% and of her paycheck. So again, everything's going to be based on gross pay. So again, this one's going to be 820 times 5%, which is going to be $41 towards her retirement benefit plan. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and plug in employee Social Security, employee Medicare for that $50.84, and then $11.89. So let me go ahead and plug that in. So again, we're going to go ahead and put in employee. Employee Social Security. And we also want to put Medicare. Okay, employee Medicare. So if you want to do the math here, you can. You do the 820 times the make sure it's negative 0.062%, and that should give you your $50.84. Your Medicare is 820 times negative 0.0145. Right? And that should give you your 1189. Right? So if you know the numbers off the top of your head, you could just calculate it directly into your numbers here and do the quick math here. Okay? And once again, this is for admin purposes, right? Because you're just paying them for what they earned. Okay? And then we said the employee health insurance. Okay, so let me just put in health. Okay, so here we got employee health insurance, okay, for that $150. And then the last thing that we said was 401k deduction, right? Match is us. So deduction, which we said for her was going to be 5% of her paycheck, okay, which right here gives you $41. And admin. So in this case, right, now that we finally listed out all of the taxes that she's subjected to pay, that means she's going to walk away with only $534. Yes, okay? That is just because this time we're only doing 1 week. So in this case, the payroll period, we said that it started in December, but we never opened up our store until January. So for this first week, yes, unfortunately, she's not going to get a very large paycheck. Okay? Now, see, so that is everything that we calculated, which is going to be your total gross earnings, subtract out all of the taxes. So this is what you need to do when you are manually entering in all of your information. Okay? And we need to designate what is her check number. Okay? So now we're going to pay Katie. Come on. So we're going to pay Katie. Okay? I'm trying to find her check number. Okay, so her check number is going to be 1,009 for her total pay of $534.07. Okay, so 1,009. Once everything looks good, I can go ahead and click save and close, or save and new, since I'm going to process Mario's paycheck as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click save. I'm going to do save and close. Okay? Now, in this case, right, I just put a whole bunch of negative numbers into my QuickBooks. How does that relay in my chart of accounts? In this case, if I go ahead and go to my chart of accounts, because it's a liability, right? If I go ahead and check out my payroll liabilities, right? Okay, so let me see, employee right here. Notice this, I put in all of my numbers as negative. It turns out positive in my chart of accounts. Okay, because in this case, QuickBooks is able to understand that when you're writing a check and you do a negative amount, it converts it as a credit debit system, right? So again, QuickBooks does do this and understands the debits and credit system and knows how to convert it. So in this case, it identified that, oh, okay, well, you got Katie, right, putting in $150 to the liabilities for that. We have the $11.98 for her Medicare, the $50, it's all positive. So then when we actually go ahead and pay somebody, we would just make sure what the numbers are, or pay for the federal taxes. We just make sure what those numbers are and be able to, and it would just subtract it out. Okay. So in this case, that is exactly how it was converted. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do our second check here for Mr. Mabala. Okay. Sorry, come on. Okay. Okay, so in this case, right, I believe I put it in this order for a reason. So you're going to choose to either process everybody's paycheck all at once, or you could do this one at a time. This is actually going to make more sense if it's one at a time. Is that after you've cut Katie's check, right? You also now need to start realizing that you have your company responsibility for Katie as an employee. So therefore, you need to also pay into your own. You have to also put in the your company's responsibility for having Katie as an employee. Okay. Now, this is up to you. You have a couple choices here. You could either do a general journal entry, right? So in this case, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Or you could use the expense icon, right? And make sure you code it to the general journal. But in this case, let's go ahead and just do the general journal, all right? And we're going to go ahead and put in company's contributions, okay, for the 14th, and it's going to be adjustment entry number 3. And what we're going to do is these are the responsibilities for having Katie as a employee. So we're going to do that first, then we can keep track of that. Now that I paid Katie, I need to pay for the responsibilities that the company has to do for having Katie as an employee. So in this case, that's what I need to do. So excuse me for that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll come back to Mario Mabila later. But what I'm going to do here is go plus new icon, and I'm going to go ahead and click journal entry, because now I need to go ahead and enter in that today is going to be that January 14. All right. Journal adjustment entry for number 3 here, not 2. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and list out all the company's responsibilities for having Katie as an employee. So first thing that we have to recognize is the company is responsible to match Katie's Federal Insurance Contribution Act. That means the Social Security and Medicare. So in this case, if Katie put in 6.2% of her paycheck in there and 1.45% of her check in there for Medicare, you need to match it 100%. So therefore, since we've already calculated that prior, we already knew that the company's Social Security is going to be, so for instance, we calculated for Katie, that means we need to match her 100%. So therefore, it was $50.84 based off of gross pay, and it was $11.89 for the Social Security. And we're going to title it as company, right? So we can tell the difference between what we wrote off of her check versus what we pay separately as a company responsibility. So that is exactly why yesterday's lesson, right, when we talked about why is it important that you have 2 separate accounts, is because one of them is taken off from the actual paycheck, and then the other one is because it is your company's responsibility to pay into the individual's Social Security and Medicare as well. So you definitely want to keep them separate. However, you can make a payment altogether. It doesn't matter. But you have to keep it separate so you know that, one, how much money is being taken off of that individual's paycheck, and then how much you are going to be paying into their Social Security, Medicare. Okay? And then, of course, we are responsible to do federal unemployment here. Okay, so we said that since for the state, we need to be able to cover for our employees in case they do end up losing their job. So in this case, we need to go ahead and do federal unemployment, which in this case, we went ahead and I just used a random number here for the federal. There you go. Federal unemployment. I just went ahead and just used 0.1.5%, so 1.5%. So in this case, which is 0.015, which when we calculated that came out to be $12.30. Okay, and of course for state unemployment, in this case, there are rules and regulations of how this number is being determined. So in this case, I do teach this section in the accounting program. But in this case, I chose a random number here that made sense. So in this case, I did for this one for unemployment. I went for state unemployment. I just choose 1.25%. Okay. Now, as you see right here, where it says federal unemployment, and then in parentheses it says 0.5 to 6%. That is the tax. That is the amount of range that your company can be responsible to pay into. It just depends on, again, how many employees you have, how much money you owe, and how many payments you've made. So again, this rate is going to be determined. Again, I would 100% seek a professional advisor for this, or speak with the IRS so you could get the exact number. Okay, so in this case I chose 1.25% for state, so therefore that should be $10.25. And of course, workers' compensation will vary by agency and / job. So workers' compensation, like we've mentioned yesterday, is going to be a means for us to protect our business, right, from the employee from suing us for negligence. Okay, but in this case, right, it will vary because depending on how intense the job labor is and what is the likelihood of being injured on the job is going to determine what percentage. So in this case, in this class, I chose 1.36%. So therefore, 1.36% of that is $11.15. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do our journal entry. Now, in this case, this is where you need to know the rules of how to do a journal entry, which we already taught you in chapter 5, right? You need to know and understand how the flow works. Expenses normally have a debit balance because you're going to be increasing your expenses, right? You have to pay these taxes for having Katie as an employee. But because you're choosing to owe, which is a liability, liabilities means if you increase it, you're going to credit these accounts. So in this case, because I'm not paying it now, I'm choosing to pay it later, I'm creating a liability. So therefore, I'm going to be increasing company Social Security, increasing company Medicare, increasing federal unemployment, because I'm not going to choose to pay it now. I'm going to choose to pay it later. So therefore, I owe the federal and state governments money. So therefore, I'm going to debit and credit all of these accounts right here. So let's go ahead and fill that in. You can also make a description saying that this is for Katie's for Katie's earnings. Okay. So first thing I'm gonna do here, account is where you did company. We did company Social Security. Okay. We have company Medicare. I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty typing today. So there you go, company Medicare, right? We got the federal unemployment. We got state unemployment. And we have, what else do we have here? Oh, I forgot the first one, which is the payroll. Okay, my bad. So let me go ahead and put payroll expenses here. Payroll tax. Okay, so we said payroll taxes to be paid, right, was our account here. And I'm going to click, so here I'm going to click and drag this at the top since it has to be at the very top. Okay, so payroll taxes need to be at the top here because debits will always go first and then your credits will go last. So payroll, so I got federal, state, and then I think it's workers' compensation. There you go, workers' compensation. Oh, I got two of them. I got workers' comp insurance. I think I just put it as workers' comp. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those in for the 50, 84, 11, 98, and then the 1230 and the 1025. Okay. So this here is by Social Security. If you can't see, you can always drag and align. Hold on, my payroll taxes is not there. Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, payroll taxes. Okay, so it's not letting me move my. Okay, then I'm just gonna. I'm gonna have to delete everything just because I need to have it in the correct order so I don't mess up. So in this case, come on, delete. Okay, so again, gotta start with the payroll taxes first. Payroll taxes to be paid. Payroll taxes to be paid is first. Then it's company Social Security. Okay, so in this case, I'll just go ahead and type it in here. 820 times 0.062. Okay. Then we have company Medicare, which is okay. I guess I'm just gonna go through this. Medicare, then federal unemployment. Then we have state. Unemployment. Then we have workers' compensation. Okay, so once again, let's see. We said was $11.89. That we said this one was based off of 1.5, which is $12.30, and then we said this was based off of 1.25%, which is $10.25. Okay, and then workers' compensation was 820 times 0.136, which gives you $11.15. Okay, so that is all the company's responsibilities for taxes. Now, we also have to include what other responsibilities that the company promised to cover for Katie, as in benefits and deductions. So in this case, we also offered that we said that we were going to pay the health insurance 50-50. So if Katie put $150 in, we need to put also $150 in. And because we said that if you put 5% of your paycheck in, the company will match you 3%. So in this case, we need to go ahead and add that in as well as company health and 401k. So your grand total amount is going to be $271.03 for taxes. Okay. So right here, we got company health. Company health, which we said was $150. Okay. And we said the last one was 401k match, which is going to be up to 3% of her paycheck. Okay, which is going to be $24.60. Okay, so then that's going to give me a grand total of, let's see, $271.03. $271.03. Okay, and of course you could put the description as Katie's payroll expenses. I don't know. Okay. For Katie's paycheck, whatever it is, Katie's earnings, however you want to put in here, I can go ahead and copy and paste that all the way down. Okay. And then name, no name, location, it is up to you, but class for sure is going to be admin, because once again, this is all admin. Okay. So once everything looks good, all your total debits match your total credits, I can go ahead and click Save and Close. So there you go. Now, that took about a huge chunk of time, right? To explain, to calculate, and so on and so forth, just for one employee. Now, can you tell me, if you have about 20 employees, is this something you can do within one day to process paychecks? No, right? Because in this case, that's exactly why we rather outsource to a professional person or use Intuit, which is just a click of a button and it will calculate for you. Okay? Or we outsource it to somebody else to do the work for us and we just pay them as an expense for their services for us. So exactly, that is one of the things that you want to consider, right? Doing manual payroll is long and it's tedious, and it really depends on the individual person's W-4 form. You got to look up their personal tax table. You got to understand how much they've earned and so on and so forth. Know what the compensations are. Know what the federal taxes are, the state taxes, and you also have to make sure that you understand your responsibilities for having Katie as an employee, right? So we did a lot of work in the small time frame that we just did in class, right? So again, is it something that is worth doing? Well, that's why there's professional programs that can do that for you. So again, if you do choose to outsource those those options out there, it's gonna be much more efficient than you doing it yourself. So as you can see, here is my list here for the company stuff. They're all in here with their account balances. Okay. So any questions in regards to paying Katie, so on and so forth, okay? And the payroll process. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna stop here, okay? And I will determine whether you guys should do this for homework or not, okay? So right now it is exactly 9:58, so I'm gonna round that to 10 o'clock.